We're going to take these guitars one at a time and show you some of the special features and also take it in chronological order. This 1942 Southern Jumbo is special because of the rosewood back and sides. Highly rare, and probably only the very first Southern Jumbos had rosewood back and sides. We're looking at the rear-bellied bridge that Gibson designed. It's beautifully sculpted, as you can see, which is typical of that. Move ahead a little bit, and you see the pickguard using the same material that Gibson used in the 30s with the wide stripes, but using a different design.
What year is this Southern Jumbo, Gary?
1942.
42. It's a beauty.
This SJ has the typical multiple stripes of binding. Another feature of the early Southern Jumbos is this white heel cap. These early Southern Jumbos did not have neck binding. That wasn't the feature that showed up until about 1946. But you notice it does have real pearl inlays, which disappeared later. Gibson switched to pearloid in the late 1940s. Another feature that disappeared in the late 40s was this beautiful tapered peghead. We're looking at a 1943 Southern Jumbo, and Gary had mentioned earlier that many of the Southern Jumbos have the rear belly bridge. However, many of them also have the rectangular bridge that's seen always on the J45s. We want to show this guitar because it's got the black stripe up the middle, which is a painted-on stripe under the lacquer, sometimes referred to as the skunk stripe, decorative only. We show you also in a minute the same stripe on a J45. Now this is a J45, and it also has the painted-on decorative stripe. Even though this guitar does not have a serial number, it's probably about a 1943, the same as the Southern Jumbo that we just looked at. We're looking again at this first Southern Jumbo skunk stripe. I'm going to turn it around, and it also has a black stripe down the back, which is fairly typical of Southern Jumbos. Gary, this J45 is not typical. Can you tell me anything about why that is?
Yes, during World War II, there was a short supply on wood at the Gibson Company because they were working in part with the war effort. And during that time, when they ran out of mahogany, they started using parts on hand, and some of it was using maple for back and sides on some of the J45s. Like on this one here. Dan, you might want to move a little closer to get a better shot. Now, what do you think of the grain of the wood, Dan? Let me turn it so you can see yourself in it.
Well, you can. You must polish these things all the time.
Religiously, once a year. This is one of 3 that I have, or I sold the other 2, and this one is not for sale.
We're looking at a 1942 J45 that does not have a truss rod. Due to the war, Gibson was not able to get metals and was short on supplies, and so they made a decision to not put truss rods in their instruments. In fact, they sent letters to the stores indicating they wouldn't have truss rods in their guitars any longer throughout the war. That didn't prove to be the case, however. It was just 1942 and early 1943 that some were without. Some during that time did have truss rods from spare parts.
I'd like to add also that the ones that didn't have the truss rod, they have an ebony strip in place of that to help strengthen the neck to keep it from warping. Now, according to Julius Spelson of Gibson, during that time, he said that they didn't consider that Gibson quality, so later in '43, they did start adding the metal truss rod again. This is a rosewood model Southern Jumbo 1942. This is a J45 1942. This is a skunk striped J45 1943. This is a J45 maple back and sides 1943. This is a skunk stripe Southern Jumbo 1943. This is a J45 1944.
That's mine.
This is a 1949 Southern Jumbo. And this is a 1951 Southern Jumbo. These guitars are so gorgeous. What do you think?
Sure are. You got us convinced. Now we're going to go on to something else, aren't we, Gary?
I think we will. What, do you want to go to the J55s next?